guys, and welcome to the shop. So today I want to get started on this Dana 20, see if we can get it put back together. I've got a master rebuild kit or gasket kit from Novak. I'll be using both the service manual for my Jeep and Novak's instructions as we go through this thing. So come along with me and let's see if we can get this thing put back together. Alright guys, so first up we're going to install the front output shaft front bearing cup into the case. This beveled edge will go down. This race is a 14276 and its bearing is 14116. Both these are Koyas. So you want the beveled edge towards the inside of the case. I'll just drive this flush. All right. Next step is to install our thimbles. So let me flip this over. Those thimbles will go here. All right. There and there. You can feel a definite dead thud when you hear that. There's a little chamfered edge down there in the bottom of that casting where that bottoms out. Alright, next up. Install front bearing cap. Alright, so let's flip this back over. And this is the front bearing cap. Like that. It has a little raised edge here, so it looks like this race needs to go a little deeper. So let me drive that in, maybe another 3/16. That's what that looks like. Okay. Oh yeah. All right. So let me find that gasket. It looks like this kit comes with maybe everything you need for either the 20 or the 18. This looks like our guy. All right. Here we go. I've already ran a tap through all of these holes. Looks like all of them, yeah, all but this one here is open into the case. Alright, let me put a little ultra on this. So there's our gasket, ready to go. Let's put the cap on it. Okay. All right. These bolts I've cleaned up and black oxide treated, and gave it a an oil treatment as well. But I'm gonna go ahead and put some blue thread lock on it, just to help seal that up. It'll catch a little bit of that ultra as it goes through, but because that's open all the way into that case. Uh-oh. Let me clean this up right here. It dripped. Okay. All right. These get torqued to 30 foot-pounds. Install front output shaft, shift rail, poppet ball, and spring. All right, in the kit, they give you new poppet balls, springs, and the covers with their O-rings. So let me turn this guy around here. All right. This is the front shift rail, and this is the rear shift rail. All right. So I'm going to put a little bit of assembly lube on these. All right. The spring goes first, and then the ball. So I've got the spring down in the cavity there. I don't know if you can see in there or not. Let me slide it forward just a hair maybe. Down in here is the spring. The poppet little ball bearing is on top of it. So what I'm going to attempt to do is push down on that ball, and at the same time push this shift rail in. I'm going to put a little lube on this shift rail. Maybe that'll help it slide through a little bit easier. Alright, so I'm going to push down on that ball. Okay. So right now this shift rail is just hovering over the top of that ball to keep it from coming out. Okay. Now we're going to flip the case completely over. Just like that. Now down in here, right there, you can see where that shift fork will slide over this, and the lock nut will rest in that cavity there in the shift rail. Alright, this is the front shift fork. And this is the locking nut, what do they call it? Set screw. There's the set screw for it. So let me go ahead and put a little bit of blue on. Alright, I'm going to pull the rail back just a hair, just so I can slide this fork over it. Just like that. Okay, and I can feel it in that cavity of the shift rail. So I think that torques to 14 foot-pounds, which is less than my bigger torque wrench will allow me to get to. But I've got an inch-pound here, and it would be 14 times 12, 168. So I need to set this for 168 inch-pounds. Alright, so there's 160, and we just go around to 8, 168, lock it. Alright, I'm going to need an adapter for this. Okay, so let's go 14 foot-pounds. There we go. Alright, so next step is to take the front output shaft and press this bearing onto it. So let me take this over to the press. I'll go ahead and get that on there. Alright, so what I've done here is I've got the old bearing torn apart, and I'm using the small side of it to mate up to the new bearing to give me something to press against. And then I've got the output shaft there. So let me get it driven on. I'll just check to make sure it's not getting any kind of pressure onto those bearings. Main thing is not to damage that. It's a press fit, but it's not the tightest press fit I've ever come across. So let me get it all the way down. Alrighty. So there's that. I think that'll work. Let's go back to the bench. Alright guys, so there's that bearing. So next what we're going to do inside the case, but I'm going to show you outside. It'll be a little easier to show you. We're going to push this through the housing from here. And we're going to put this sliding gear on it. The output shaft gear on it. This thrust washer. It does not look to be directional that I can tell. And then we're going to put this bearing on it. So we'll feed all that through like that, and then we'll have to drive this bearing onto it. So let me get set up, and let's get that done. Alright, so I flipped this back on its side. The bearing that I inserted down here at the bottom and this bearing's the same, so the races are of course the same as well. So on this output shaft, both bearings are identical. So now we're just going to drive this this shaft down until we get the bearing seated on the bottom that we just inserted there. All right, so I've got that driven down into that bearing. So next let's get this race on here, and I'll just tap it in. All right, next we'll put our shim pack on and this rear cover. All right, there are all the shims. There's the cover. I'll put a little Loctite on each of these before we put those in. All right, these get torqued to 30 foot-pounds as well. Seems like everything in here is either 30 foot-pounds or 14. All right, we need to strike this here to set this bearing back here in the back. So let's give it a good wallop. Alright guys, so the next step is to insert the rear shift rail, and I've modified it. What I'd like to be able to do is use front and rear drive independently. So what I've done here, I've taken this indention, poppet indention, and moved it to about 1 inch away from the shifter, and then this rear one I have I've hogged it out about 3/4 of an inch, so about 830 thousandths towards the shifter. So about 830 thousandths on this rear towards the shifter, and a little over an inch on the front away from the shifter. Okay. So next up, we'll put the spring and the poppet in this in the housing, and we'll get this shift rail installed. All right, so there's that. Let's get this turned over and we'll get that shift fork installed. All right, that gets torqued to 14 foot-pounds, just like the front did. Next step, we need to get this sliding gear in. Okay. Next up, we need to assemble the intermediate gear. So let me get set up, and I'll bring you back when we're ready to start that. All right. So what we've got to do here is put in a spacer. And then I think there's 24, 25 bearings we'll put in. And then there will be a middle spacer, 24, 25 more bearings, and then the top spacer. And then we've got to get it into the case. So let me get that done, and we'll see how this works. All right. That was a pain in the butt. Alright guys, next up is the rear output shaft. We'll so on the inner bearing, the cap is a 25821 and it goes cone out. All right, so then we'll flip it over, and on the output bearing, there's an inner ledge down here, so it kind of goes in, and then it goes where it will be pressed into. Let me swap this out. I don't know if you can see, but looks like right there is the lubricant passage. So we want to make sure that this race gets pressed in below it. You can see that passageway right there. And it looks like it's sitting on that ledge down there, so that looks good. All right. And I've already pressed this bearing on, same way as we did on the front output shaft. And then the speedometer gear, its shims goes on next, just like we took it out of the when we did the disassembly. So I'm going to put that in. That's going to go over it. And then this gear, I'm sorry, these bearings will be pressed in right there. So what I'm going to do is take the old bearing brace, well, it's not really the race, it's the part of the bearing, and turn the cone down on top of the new one. And then I'm going to take this over to the press and press that down. So give me just a second, I'll get set up over there and we'll get this pressed in. Alright guys, so here we are set up at the press. I got the new bearing down in there, the old bearing inverted, and then I've got a spacer and a cap just so we can press on it. So let's see if I can do this one-handed. We'll see if we can get this pressed in. Okay, I think that's got it. I don't want to put too much force on it. If that's not good, we'll bring it back over. I'll look at it first. All right, so let's go back to the bench. All right guys, so that looks good. Looks like there's little to no play in this. I think before I go ahead and button it up and go ahead and put this seal in, so I can drive that in right there. All right, let me get some ultra on it. All right. Okay. All right, I think I'm gonna put a little grease on that seal there, just so it'll all right, now let's get our seal on here, our gasket, and then we'll put that rear output shaft in the housing. All right, there's that. Then this will go on like so. There we go. That went on a lot easier and it came off. All right. Those bolts are here. All right. Tell you what, I'm going to put a little blue thread lock on these before I put them in the case. Okay. All right, these get torqued to 30 foot-pounds. Yep. All right, now we put the yokes on. So let me starting to get heavy. All right, on these I'm going to put a little bit of, just a little bit of black ultra here, just to seal, keep anything from seeping through the splines. And then I'm going to put a little bit of grease around this edge here. Okay. And then on the back side of this washer, I'm going to put some more Ultra. Where to set it? There we go. And then I'm going to put a drop of put blue thread locker on this. Output shaft. All right, we're going to torque that to 140 foot-pounds. So let me get set up and we'll get that torqued. Give me one sec. Okay guys, so let's get this torqued to 140 foot-pounds. That RTV gets all over everything. All right, there's that one. I'll get set up and we will we'll do the front output shaft. Okay, so first let's get this seal in, just like that. I'm gonna put some Ultra on it first. All right. Okay. And let's put a little grease on that. Now the only difference between the front and the back is the front has this thrush washer that goes in, so I'm going to go ahead and insert that. Cool. And then let me grab the other yoke. Alright. I'll do it just like I did the rear. Put just a little bit of those things. We'll grease this yoke up a little bit. Just so it doesn't tear up our seal. Alright. Alright. Okay. All right, so next let me get the hardware cleaned up for this cover, and we'll get it installed. So give me just a bit. All right, guys, so next up we want to put a little ultra on this gasket, and then we're going to put this bottom cover on it. Alright, these get torqued to 14 foot-pounds, 168 inch-pounds. All right. So now we want to put these seals in, and we can cap it. All right, I'm going to put just a little grease right back in this area here. We'll put a little bit right here just so this slides over. This shift rail is a little easier. All right. There's that. Put a little bit of assembly lube on these O-rings. Then we'll just snug these in. Alrighty. Alright, so next up, let's get the shifting fork. I think that's what this is called. Alright guys, so let's get this shift fork in. I guess it's called a shift fork. I don't know what it is. Shift bracket. I've cleaned the end of this off. It had pour 15 on it. So I've cleaned it off, oiled it, sanded the inside of this bore, and oiled it as well. So let's see if this will slide in. Oh yeah, much better. All right. I tapped these screw holes up here, or bolt holes. So let me put a little bit of blue on these. Alright, and a 1/2 inch wrench will fit these. Okay. I'll come back in here and repaint this later. Alright, I found this bolt, but it is boogered up pretty bad right there. So I will I'll get another one, but for right now we'll use it. All right, let's see here. I don't see any bushings in the kit. I didn't show you, but I did modify this mount. Had to cut the old one came out to about right in there, so I cut it off there close to those. So that's one of the adjustments they have you make. A couple of heims. So one of them has this little heim joint on both ends, and the other one has a spot for a bolt. Okay, it looks like the bolt goes here. So it looks like they give you, it's a off-centered nut that pinches. Looks like they give you a replacement to go here on the bottom side of that, so that's pretty cool. And these do the same thing, so I'm not gonna, because I'm gonna go back and put some well, I don't get that type. I don't guess you really need any thread locker. Those are not centered. I wonder why that is. Okay guys, there it is. All done. Except I got to go back and paint this bracket here. I think the reason this is offset is because of the way these heim joints have to be. So maybe it's to keep these from rubbing. I don't know. Maybe. But we'll try it like that and see. Let me show you how this works. If I can. Kind of hard to do on the bench like this, but we'll try. So right now, both of them are in neutral. And if I put the front in low, there's low. I can't put it won't allow me to put the rears in high. So you never want high, low, low, high. So it restricts that. I can go to low. There's both of them in low. And then I can come out of low. This one's back in neutral. This one's still in low. I can't put this one in high. And what I mean is this is the front. So this is the front, this is the rear. I can't put the front in low or high, while I can put it in low because the rear is still in low, but I can't put it in high because the rear is in low. I left those pop-it balls in there, that little peel. That's what I was showing you earlier with the modification I made to that rear shift rail. Anyway, so there's the rear in low. The front is in neutral. So I'll go back to neutral with the rear, and then I can go to high with the front, but I can't go back to, will not allow me to go to low on the rear. I can only go to low, which is not in here right now, so it doesn't make contact there. But yeah, that's how it works. Pretty cool. I like it. Both of them back to neutral. I think I explained that correctly. But yeah, it appears to be working the way it's supposed to be. How about that? So that was a chore. That thing is heavy and hard to move around and to keep stable because there's so many different angles to this thing. It's hard to keep it balanced. Anyway, other than just a little bit of cleanup here, this will get put to the side, and then I think I want to get back on the transmission and see if I can get at least some of it done while I'm waiting on that synchronizer. But anyway, that'll be next time. This one's done, and on to the next. Thanks for coming by the shop and God bless you. We'll see you next time.